Namaste. Welcome to the lecture series on the subject Applied Thermodynamics. This is Module 3 Vapor Power Cycles. In that it is lecture number 2. Myself Dr. N. Satish Kumar, Associate Professor of Mechanical Engineering, Canara Engineering College, Bantual. So in the last lecture we discussed about the Carnot cycle as the vapor power cycle. Today we will discuss the Rankine vapor power cycle. So many of the impracticalities associated with the Carnot cycle can be eliminated by superheating the steam in the boiler and condensing it completely in the condenser. So we discussed that in Carnot cycle superheating is not possible, as well as condensation to the saturated liquid is also not possible. So those two problems can be eliminated by superheating the steam in the boiler, as well as undergoing complete condensation in the condenser. The cycle that results is called as the Rankine cycle, which is the ideal cycle for vapor power plants. Now you have to understand that Rankine cycle is the ideal cycle for the vapor power plants. The ideal Rankine cycle does not involve any internal irreversibilities and consists of the following four processes. So whenever you talk about ideal process, so you should know that it doesn't involve any internal irreversibilities. So all are the ideal process. So what are the four processes? Number one, the process 1 to 2. Okay, before that, let me explain the schematic diagram. So these are the same four components which we discussed even for the Carnot cycle. So this is a pump, right, which supplies the water to the boiler at high pressure, and this is a boiler where heat is added and water is converted into steam, and the steam at state 3 enters the turbine and undergoes expansion to state 4, and further it is condensed back to liquid and it enters at state 1 to the pump, right, and the cycle repeats. So here four processes are there: process 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, and 4 to 1. So don't worry about the naming. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So any point you can name as 1, 2, 3, 4. You can start from any point. Okay, that doesn't matter. Only thing is you should know the process. So here 1 to 2 is the pump work. So pump work input is represented, or the pump work is represented by process 1 to 2. Then 2 to 3, you see here after you see the point 1, you can see here after at the end of this condensation it is saturated liquid. Point 1 is on the saturated liquid line. You see this is a saturated liquid line. Try to understand this. So point 1 is on that line. That means saturated liquid at the end of condensation, which was not the case in case of Carnot cycle. Try to understand this. Then process 1 to 2, so assume to be isentropic compression. So you can see point 2 here. So then it undergoes, you see it is completely liquid, undercooled liquid actually. So as the heat that it should reaches the saturated liquid at this point. So during the phase change, so any liquid, so if it is undercooled at that pressure, so first it has to reach the saturation temperature at that pressure. So that is what is achieved at this point. So then you can say constant temperature and pressure phase change. Actually 2 to 3 itself is a constant pressure process. Okay, now this horizontal line from here to here, so this is a phase change process. So this is the point where it is dry saturated steam or dry saturated vapor. Now Carnot cycle is limited to this point itself, but here we are going beyond that point till point 3, where the point 3 is in the superheated region. So that is what we discussed in the previous slide. So heat addition is taking place till the steam gets converted into superheated steam. Now you can see the expansion in the turbine, that is 3 to 4, right? So this is the expansion 3 to 4. Okay, now look at the point 4 here. So it is more towards right in the two-phase region. That means the quality is more than 90%. So 90% and above the quality is what is required for the ideal process. So steam quality is also improved because of superheating. Then you can see 4 to 1 is the condensation which takes place in the condenser, and at the end of the condensation the liquid is completely saturated liquid. You can see the point 1 is in the saturated liquid line. Okay, now the coming to the process. So process 1 to 2, so it is isentropic compression in a pump where water enters the pump at state 1 as saturated liquid and is isentropically compressed to the operating pressure of the boiler. So here the main job of the pump to increase the pressure of the liquid water to the boiler pressure. At that pressure only it can be supplied to the boiler, it can enter into the boiler. The water temperature increases somewhat during this isentropic compression process due to the slight decrease in the specific volume of water. So though it is a isentropic compression, so but there will be a small change in or increase in temperature, also there will be slight decrease in the specific volume of water during this isentropic compression 1 to 2 in pump. Now coming to the process 2 to 3, the constant pressure heat addition in a boiler. Now coming to the process 2 to 3, so it is a constant pressure heat addition in a boiler. So water enters the boiler as a compressed liquid at state 2, that is what is seen from the TS diagram. You can see it is compressed liquid here at 2 and leaves as superheated vapor at point 3 as I explained in the previous slide. The boiler is basically a large heat exchanger where the heat originating from the combustion of the gases or the nuclear reactors or other sources is transferred to the water essentially at constant pressure. So this is what I was supposed to understand. So boiler is a place wherein actually it is basically a heat exchanger which works at constant pressure. So here heat of combustion of gases will be transferred to water, or heat of nuclear reactions may be transferred to water, or any other source of heat which is produced there in the combustion chamber of the boiler is transferred to the water generally at constant pressure. The boiler together with the section where steam is superheated is often called as the steam generator. So boiler not only increases the or converts the water into steam, it also does the superheating. So in addition to that the general part, so there is an additional unit called as superheater. So the superheater and the boiler, so together, so it is called as the steam generator. Now coming to the isentropic process 3 to 4 or process 3 to 4, so it is isentropic expansion in a turbine. The superheated vapor at state 3, so here you can see the condition of steam coming out of the turbine is superheated, that is here you can see, right? So it enters the turbine where it expands isentropically and produces work by rotating the shaft connected to the electric generator. So here the steam undergoes expansion, so converts its heat energy into mechanical energy. So that is how the steam turbine works. So that is, or any other turbine works. So you have a separate chapter subject for that is turbo machine. So we'll be studying it in the next semester. Okay, so I am not going in detail about the working of the turbine. So what I can say now is it converts heat energy into mechanical energy while it undergoes expansion, right? Now the electric turbine is connected to the electric generator. All of you should understand that here is electric generator will be coupled to the turbine, which converts this mechanical energy into electrical energy. Now the pressure and temperature of the steam drops during this process to the values at state 4. So you can see this is the state 3 before entry point to the turbine. You can see the pressure and temperature both drops during the expansion to state 4, right? So where it enters the condenser. So point 4 is the exit of the turbine and also it is the entry point to the condenser. Process 4 to 1, the constant pressure heat rejection in condenser. So constant pressure, again it's a constant pressure process. So at state 4 the steam is usually saturated liquid vapor mixture. You can see it's a saturated liquid vapor mixture, but its quality is very high. So steam is condensed at constant pressure in the condenser, which is basically a large heat exchanger. So like a boiler, so condenser is also a large heat exchanger wherein the steam gives out its to the cooling water. So it rejects heat to the cooling media such as lake, river or the atmosphere. So you can use lake water, river water, or you can make use of atmosphere, because here whatever the lake water, river water which is used for the cooling of this steam in the condenser is further cooled in the cooling tower where this heat is given to the atmosphere. Now steam leaves the condenser as saturated liquid and enters the pump, thus completing the cycle. You can see point 1 is in the saturated liquid line So the steam leaving the condenser is a saturated liquid. Now let us do the energy analysis of the ideal Rankine cycle. All the four components associated with the Rankine cycle, that is the pump, boiler, turbine and condenser, are steady flow devices. So all four processes that make up the Rankine cycle can be analyzed as a steady flow process. So that is already we discussed the Brayton cycle or the refrigeration cycle also, wherein the working fluid continuously flows through these devices at a constant rate of flow are considered to be steady flow devices, and easily you can apply the steady flow energy equation for the analysis purpose. The potential and kinetic energy changes of the steam are usually small relative to the work, though there is small change in potential energy and kinetic energy, but it is very small when compared to the work, and it is always neglected. Right? So steady flow energy equation per unit mass of the steam, now it reduces to Q minus W is equal to delta H, or Q in minus Q out plus W in minus W out is equal to HE minus HI. So net heat transfer plus net work transfer is equal to change in enthalpy, and this can be applied to all the four devices, that is pump, boiler, turbine and the condenser. Here the boiler and the condenser do not involve any work. So this is what you know. So boiler, there is only heat transfer, there is no work, and condenser also there is no work involved, only heat transfer. So pump and turbine are assumed to be isentropic where work is involved. Then the conservation of energy relation for each device can be expressed as follows. The pump work during process 1 to 2 is given by TDS is equal to DH minus V dP. So T into ds is nothing but the heat term, and dH is nothing but the enthalpy term, and V into dP is nothing but the work term. Okay. Pump handles water which can be assumed to be incompressible, right? So water is always assumed to be incompressible. So from property relationship for isentropic process, as you know, for isentropic process change in entropy is 0, ds is equal to 0, so you'll get change in enthalpy is equal to V into dP, which is nothing but the pump work. So process 1 to 2 you can write H2 minus H1 is equal to V into P2 minus P1. So this itself is the expression for the pump work during the process 1 to 2. So pump work is given by H2 minus H1, or the enthalpy difference during the process 1 to 2, which can also be expressed in terms of specific volume into pressure difference P2 minus P1. Here important thing is to be noted is the specific volume, this V, should be taken at the initial condition at state 1. So that is very, very important. So here the enthalpy at state point 1. So as all of you know, the point 1 is on the saturated liquid line at condenser pressure. So condenser pressure is P1. So H1 is equal to HF1. Try to understand this. So especially it is very useful when you solve the problem. You need to find out the enthalpies at various points 1, 2, 3, 4. So H1 is equal to HF1 at pressure P1, and also you want volume, specific volume at entry to the boiler, pump, it is pump, entry to the pump, that is point, specific volume at point 1. So V is equal to V1 is equal to VF1 again at pressure P1. So P1 here is the condenser pressure. So this is analysis as far as pump is concerned. Now coming to the boiler where heat is added. So the heat added per unit mass in the boiler during the process 2 to 3 is given by Q in is equal to H3 minus H2. So Q is equal to delta H, as W is 0 here. There is no work involved in boiler. But turbine, the process 3 to 4, so it is isentropic expansion work. So W turbine output is equal to, or is given by H3 minus H4. So here in case of turbine, it is assumed to be there is no heat loss. So whatever the heat energy entering, partly it is converted into work with the enthalpy change of H3 minus H4, and the remaining is exhausted to the condenser. So W turbine output is H3 minus H4. Now the heat rejected per unit mass in the condenser during the process 4 to 1 is given by Q out is equal to H4 minus H1. Once again, no work is involved in the condensation process. It is the enthalpy change is equal to the heat transfer or the heat loss or the heat rejected. So heat rejected Q out is equal to H4 minus H1. So here the enthalpies H2, H3 and H4 are the enthalpies at state points 2, 3, 4 respectively. Now coming to the thermal efficiency of the Rankine cycle, the thermal efficiency of the Rankine cycle is given by eta is equal to net work done by heat supplied, which is nothing but W net by Q in, or Q in minus Q out by Q in, or 1 minus Q out by Q in. Now in other words, eta is equal to W turbine out minus W pump in by Q in, because W net here is nothing but can also be expressed as W turbo out by minus W pump in. So this is also expressed as Q in minus Q out. It can also be expressed as W turbo output minus W pump input, which is, it can be written as H3 minus H4 for the turbine, because 3 to 4 is the expansion and 1 to 2 is the compression pump work, so H2 minus H1. So H3 minus H4 minus of H2 minus H1 divided by Q in is equal to H3 minus H2. The pump work is usually very small compared to the turbine work, and in most of the cases we neglect the pump work. If it is given, though don't neglect. If it is not given, then you can neglect, and you can write the expression for efficiency as eta is equal to H3 minus H4 divided by H3 minus H2. Now coming to the work ratio. So work ratio is nothing but net work done divided by positive work, that is W net, which is not the difference of turbine work minus pump work divided by net turbine work output is given by the is given as the work ratio. So W net, which is nothing but W turbine minus W pump divided by W turbine. Okay, W turbine minus W pump divided by W turbine, because out of the turbine work some portion of the work is used to drive the pump. So W net is nothing but W turbine minus W pump. So that much work is available out of the total work developed W turbo out or WT. So that is the ratio. And steam flow rate is defined as the rate of steam flow in kg per hour. So it is steam, STEAM. Okay, steam flow in kg per hour required to produce unit shaft power output, that is 1 kilowatt. So rate of steam flow in kg per hour required to produce unit shaft power output of 1 kilowatt. So it is measured as the capacity of the steam power plant. So steam flow rate is considered to be the measured to be the capacity of the steam power plant, which is given by steam rate is equal to 3600 divided by W net in kg per kilowatt hour. Now coming to the expression for the heat flow rate, it is the rate of heat input Q1 in kilojoules per hour required to produce unit power output of 1 kilowatt. So to produce 1 kilowatt power output, what should be the rate of heat input required, Q1? So it is heat rate is alternate to efficiency, and it is given by heat rate is equal to 3600 Q1 divided by W net. So this is how you calculate the heat rate. Now coming to the comparison between the Rankine and the Carnot cycle. So as you can see from the diagram, 3,4C 1 2S is a Carnot cycle, whereas 3 to 4R, then along this line here 2 1 is the Rankine cycle, then 1 to 2S is same, and 2S to 3S is also same line. So what are the conclusions from the comparison? For the same maximum and minimum temperatures, Rankine cycle has lower efficiency than the Carnot cycle. If you consider the same maximum temperature T1, you can see the area enclosed by the Carnot cycle is much more than the Rankine cycle. So net work output is more, so efficiency is also more for the Carnot cycle, and it is less for the Rankine cycle. For the same maximum and minimum temperatures, Rankine cycle has the highest specific output than that of the Carnot cycle. So for the same maximum and minimum temperatures, Rankine cycle has the highest specific power output. So per unit, if you consider, so then the Rankine cycle has the more specific output than the Carnot cycle per unit steam flow rate. The compression of wet vapor is difficult and involves large work in case of Carnot cycle when compared to the pumping work of feed water to the boiler in case of Rankine cycle. You can see 3 to 4 R is the Rankine cycle pump work, whereas 3 to 4 C is the pump work involved in the Carnot cycle. So Carnot cycle requires more pump work. Okay. So with this I conclude this lecture number 2 of this vapor power cycles, and will continue with lecture number 3 in the next lecture. Thank you.